Mr. Markopoulos, in his testimony earlier, testified that he brought complaints 5 times in writing to the SEC. And these were detailed complaints. It wasn't, I think something's wrong. These were detailed complaints that this is wrong, they're not trading, they're not doing this, here's examples. And it was a very specific complaint, not once, not twice, not 3, but 4, 5 times to the SEC. He said he had the support of some people in the SEC, professionals saying that this needed to be investigated. And how many more times would a whistleblower have to bring complaints to the SEC for them to have investigated the Madoff case?
As I think we've made clear, we did investigate in 2006, and the investigation resulted in no action, no recommendation of enforcement action. And so the issue, I think, to a certain extent, becomes in investigations. With any complaint, our job is to verify the information.
But one of the things he said was that Madoff wasn't conducting trades. Now, if you went in and just asked for the trade slips or proof that they were doing trades, when whistleblowers were saying they weren't doing trades, then you could have shut them down in 1/2 hour. You could have shut Madoff down in 1/2 hour by just following up on one of his allegations that they were not conducting trades. So did the SEC ever use any tools to confirm that Madoff's trades could be confirmed in market transactions?
And as to the specifics of the investigation, I can't answer. As to what we do when we investigate, we try to confirm if we can. If there's a complaint, we try to confirm the elements of the complaint. Oftentimes a complaint...
Well, let me tell you something. I'm not an SEC official. I'm not an attorney, but I have common sense. And if I were sent in to find out whether or not he was trading or not, I would ask, where are your trade slips? Where's the proof that you're trading? It doesn't have to be classified information. I find this absolutely outrageous. And if you won't answer it, I think I'm going to appeal to the chairman to subpoena and find out what you did in this case. He further testified today in a very riveting testimony that in 2001, he offered to go undercover. He offered to risk his life to work with the SEC to prove this fraud. Why was that request turned down?
And without talking about the specifics, let me say that we are a civil law enforcement agency and do not do undercover operations. They are exclusively the province of the criminal authorities. We don't do them.
He also said, and I quote, and he wrote in his testimony, that Madoff was, and I quote, one of the most powerful men on Wall Street and in a position to easily end our careers or worse, end quote. He told me he was afraid for his life that he was bringing these allegations. He was afraid Madoff would have some body killing because he was bringing these allegations. And yet they were brought in a very comprehensive way that would have been easy to prove, and you can't testify as to what tools you used or what results you got on looking at whether or not he was conducting trades. I mean, that's pretty basic. When people say he's not conducting trades, it's a complete lie. That would have been able to be proved within a half hour if you looked at it. But maybe the SEC was afraid of, do you think the personnel were afraid of having their careers ended or worse if they looked at Madoff, as Mr. Markopoulos said?
On that one, without regard to Mr. Madoff, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Has any employees at the SEC ever gone to work for Madoff?
I don't know the answer to that.
Can you look into that? That'd be easy to check.
We can. And I would say that the issue of revolving doors, the ethics rules are very seriously. We take them.
I know we have ethics rules. My question was, have any SEC employees gone to work for Madoff? If we could get that. Now, the Madoff feeder funds were advertising unbelievably high Sharpe ratios. Can you tell us what a high Sharpe ratio is?
Yes, I can. A Sharpe ratio is the ratio between the expected return on the fund and the risk of the fund. So a high Sharpe ratio means that fund is returning a great deal of return for a unit of risk.
Okay, and Mr. Markopoulos testified about the Sharpe ratios advertised by Madoff and his feeder funds. Or do you agree that the Sharpe ratios shown by Madoff's equivalent to a baseball hitter hitting 150 home runs a year? Wouldn't you think that was a warning sign? His ratio so successful? Wasn't that a warning? No one else could get those numbers.
I've not seen those ratios, so I can't say anything specifically, again, about this case.
Well, maybe that's something the SEC should have looked at.